Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The soft hum of violins floated through the penthouse suite, blending with the distant chatter of Lagos below. Sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains, casting golden halos across the marble floor. Kira stood in front of the mirror, her silk robe loosely tied, her heart dancing somewhere between joy and nerves. Today was the day. "You're glowing, babe," Vanessa said, applying light blush to Kira's cheeks. Her voice was calm, but her eyes flickered with something unreadable, too fast for Kira to catch. Kira smiled. "I feel like I haven't slept in a week. I kept dreaming the flowers would be the wrong color." Vanessa chuckled. "You plan this wedding like a military operation. If anything goes wrong, it'll fix itself in fear." The room burst into light laughter. Two other bridesmaids adjusted the floral arrangements and laid out the veil. Kira's younger brother, Zane, peeked in with a cheeky grin, holding a tray of pancakes. "Mother says eat or faint, your choice," he said. Kira groaned but accepted the tray. "Tell her I'll eat. No fainting bride today." Moments later, her mother walked in herself. Mama Ade was regal in lilac lace, her head wrap twisted high, her aura commanding. Her eyes glistened as she stared at her daughter. "My baby girl, you look just like your grandmother on her wedding day," she whispered. Kira blinked back tears. "Don't start or I'll cry before I even walk down the aisle." Her mother kissed her forehead. "Cry but only happy tears." The room was warm with laughter and energy, but Kira couldn't shake a subtle unease. It wasn't loud. Just a flicker. A vibration behind the noise. She turned back to the mirror and caught Vanessa watching her through the reflection. The maid of honor quickly looked away and began folding a note. Then, with an oddly stiff smile, she walked over. "Hey, this is for you. Open it later, when everything's calm." Kira raised a brow. "What is it?" "Just something sweet. A little surprise." Vanessa tapped the envelope. "Trust me." Kira tucked it into her bag. "Okay. Thank you." There was a knock at the door. Zane returned, this time holding a small white box. "This just arrived for you. No sender. You want me to open it first? Check for bombs?" "Relax," Kira laughed. "This isn't a mafia wedding." She opened the box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a single charm shaped like a heart. No note. No name. Just the necklace. The room fell into silence. "Secret admirer?" one bridesmaid joked, breaking the tension. Kira chuckled, slipping the necklace back into the box. "Weird but pretty." Vanessa's lips tightened. Downstairs the venue was alive. Rows of white roses flanked the golden aisle. A soft mist sprayed across the garden to keep it cool. Deo stood at the altar in a custom black tuxedo, his posture confident but tense. His best man Tunji leaned in. "Last chance to run." Deo smirked. "Not funny." "Then why are your palms sweating?" Before Deo could respond, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out discreetly. One message. "I'm coming." "You should have told her." His throat dried instantly. He turned off the phone and shoved it into his pocket. "You good?" Tunji asked, frowning now. "Yeah," Deo lied. Back in the bridal suite, the final moments ticked away. The veil was in place, the dress steamed, and photographers were clicking non-stop. Kira could hardly breathe, but not from nerves. From the weight of the moment. The magnitude of it. There was a knock. Her mother opened the door and blinked. Standing there, unexpectedly, was her father. Kira froze. "Papa?" "Surprise," he said quietly. She hadn't seen him in 7 years. Not since he walked out on them. Not since the silence. "I got the invite from your mother. Took me a while, but I didn't want to miss this." Kira's breath hitched. She looked at her mom. Mama Ade nodded once, tight-lipped. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. Kira stepped forward and hugged her father. 10 minutes later, the string quartet struck up the bridal march. As Kira stood at the doors, her arm looped through her father's, she felt something shift inside her. Despite the whirlwind, despite the mystery box and the odd energy, this was her moment. The doors opened. Gasps filled the garden. She looked like a dream. And for a few brief minutes, the world slowed. Kira floated down the aisle, eyes locked with Deo's. His smile was steady, but his eyes held something else. Something guarded. Her steps faltered for just a second. She ignored it. She had to. When she reached the altar, her father handed her off with a shaky smile. "Don't repeat my mistakes," he whispered in her ear. Kira nodded. "I won't." The vows were exchanged beneath the soft blush of sunset. Deo's voice was clear, practiced. You are my peace, my compass, my forever. Kira's response trembled with emotion. You are my laughter, my home, my heart. Cheers erupted. Confetti danced through the air. They kissed. The cameras flashed. For all intents and purposes it was perfect. But as they walked back up the aisle together, Kira caught a glimpse of a woman in red. Standing at the very back. Not clapping. Not smiling. Just watching. And when their eyes met, briefly, Kira felt it. That flicker again. Only this time it didn't go away. Deo stood behind the door of the groomsman's suite, staring into the full-length mirror. The early evening sun lit half his face, the other side cast in a shadow. He adjusted his cufflinks, silver with Kira's initials engraved, her surprise gift the night before. His best man, Tunji, leaned casually against the dresser, sipping from a glass of champagne. If I didn't know you were in love, I'd say you look like a man heading to trial. Deo cracked a smile. Maybe both. Tunji chuckled. Look, jokes aside, you've got this. You love her, she loves you. Simple. Yeah, Deo replied, voice low. But his fingers trembled slightly as he reached for his phone again. He'd turned it off after that last message, but the words haunted him. I'm coming. You should have told her. What's that? Tunji asked, watching him. Nothing, Deo muttered, tucking the phone back into his inside pocket. Tunji narrowed his eyes. You sure? Because you've been off all day. You almost forgot your vows earlier. I'm fine. Tunji approached him slowly. You know, I've been your friend since we were kids. You're not fine. So if there's something... Deo cut him off. Not now. Tunji hesitated, then gave a slow nod. Okay. But if this thing ruins what you have with Kira and I didn't stop it, I'll never forgive you. Deo didn't answer. Because he knew. It already had. The golden hour had arrived. Warm hues bathed the rose-lined altar as soft classical music filled the air. Kira's gown shimmered as she walked down the aisle, guests craning their necks for a better view. Even the leaves seemed to pause in the breeze. Deo forced a smile as she approached. She was breathtaking. Her veil lifted in the wind for a moment, revealing the nervous excitement dancing in her eyes. His heart ached with guilt. When she reached him, she whispered, "Hi." He whispered back, "Hi, angel." The ceremony moved quickly. The officiant's words faded into background noise as Deo watched her, watched everyone watching them, wondering if everything would collapse in the next hour. Then came the vows. Kira's voice trembled as she said, I've waited my whole life for this kind of love. You came when I stopped looking, and now I can't imagine life without you. Applause. Cheers. Even tears from her mother. Deo hesitated. Then began, Kira, you brought peace to my chaos. Before you, I was a man with ambition and no direction. Now I know exactly who I am, because I see myself through your eyes. The crowd melted. Even Tunji wiped at his eye. They kissed, they danced down the aisle, they posed for photos. Somewhere in the background, Kira's father watched silently, arms folded. And just outside the frame, standing in the far shadows of the garden, the woman in red watched too. While the guests enjoyed cocktails and jollof served on gold-rimmed plates, a woman stood alone beneath the palm trees. Her red dress clung to her skin like flame. No one spoke to her. No one dared. She wasn't on the guest list. She didn't need to be. Adiz watched Deo from across the garden, her gaze unreadable. She held a small white envelope in one hand. She clutched it tightly, the edges crumpled with sweat. Vanessa spotted her first. Frowning, she stepped away from the dance floor and approached. Excuse me, are you lost? Adiz didn't blink. I'm exactly where I should be. Who invited you? Vanessa asked, more firm now. Adiz smiled faintly. Let's just say, the groom and I go way back. Vanessa's blood ran cold. What do you want? To speak the truth. You're not doing this here, Vanessa hissed. Leave. Adiz stepped forward slowly, her heels clicking. You think this is about drama? I lived in silence for 4 years. Today I speak. Vanessa blocked her path. Don't. But Adiz looked right through her. Across the garden, Deo turned and locked eyes with her. His face paled. And Kira, spinning in her dress under the fairy lights, noticed the woman. Noticed Deo's face. And the flicker she had ignored returned. The ballroom sparkled. A chandelier glittered above the dance floor, where Kira and Deo shared their first dance to the slow rhythm of Ace's Stay Tonight. Guests swayed. Plates clinked. Laughter rang out like chimes. Everything looked perfect. Until Vanessa took the mic. She stepped onto the stage, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. When Kira met Deo, I knew she'd found something rare. I've watched her smile more, laugh more, dream more. They're the couple people write stories about. Kira smiled, teary-eyed. Deo shifted beside her, gaze flicking across the room again. Vanessa ended her speech with a toast, to love that endures. To Kira and Deo. Applause. Then Deo stepped forward, reaching for the mic. Thank you all, he said smoothly. Kira is my heart. I don't deserve her, but I plan to spend every day trying. More applause. A few ahs. And then, a chair scraped loudly across the marble floor. A woman stood. At ease. Sorry to interrupt, she said clearly, her voice slicing through the air like a blade. But the groom left something out. The hall fell into silence. Kira's champagne glass hovered midair. Adiz walked slowly to the stage. My name is Adiz. I'm not here to ruin anything. I'm here because the truth deserves a seat too. Security began moving. Vanessa froze. I met Deo 5 years ago, Adiz continued. We were never serious. But I have something to show you. She held up a photo. It was of a little boy. Kira's breath hitched. He's 4 years old, Adiz said softly. His name is Kamsi. And Deo is his father. The room erupted. Gasps. Screams. Flashes from phones. Kira dropped her glass. It shattered at her feet. Deo didn't speak. Couldn't. Kira stepped back away from him. Adiz, he began. But Kira had already turned and was walking out, her dress trailing like a wounded swan. And behind her, the fairy tale began to crumble. Outside the hall, Kira stumbled through the corridor, her breath catching in her throat like fire. She didn't stop until she reached the bridal suite. The clicking of her heels echoed behind her like accusations. She slammed the door shut and locked it. Inside silence. Only her ragged breaths filled the room. She sank onto the edge of the vanity, hands trembling. Her dress, once a masterpiece, now clung to her like a prison. She reached for her makeup bag, fumbling until she found the envelope Vanessa had given her earlier. Open it when things calm down. With shaking fingers, Kira tore it open. Inside was a photo. A single grainy photograph of Deo, standing beside Adiz, holding a baby. Kira's breath left her. The date scribbled on the back read, Kamsi 6 months. Lekki General Hospital. A sob escaped her throat. One, then another. A knock rattled the door. Kira. Please. Deo's voice. She ignored it. Kira opened the door. Let me explain. Silence. I didn't know about the child. I swear to God I didn't. Another knock. Louder this time. I made a mistake years ago. But I never knew she was pregnant. She never told me until today. Kira pressed her forehead to the door. So that's supposed to make it better? I love you. Nothing changes that. She whispered, everything changes that. Vanessa stood in the middle of the hall, frozen. Guests murmured and buzzed around her, but her eyes were locked on the door Kira had vanished through. Deo was arguing with security, trying to push past. I need to see her. Vanessa grabbed his arm. You need to back off and give her space. You knew, didn't you? Deo snapped. You knew Adiz might come. Vanessa didn't respond. She had that photo, he growled. It didn't fall from the sky. I found it in your drawer 2 months ago. Deo's face turned pale. I confronted you, she added. You said it was nothing. I gave you a chance to tell Kira. You didn't. You should have warned me she was coming, he yelled. I tried to stop her. Meanwhile, inside the bridal suite, Kira stared into the mirror. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her once perfect veil now lay limp on the floor. Her mother burst in. Kira, are you okay? Kira turned slowly. Did you know? No, baby. I swear. Why didn't I feel it? Why didn't I see it coming? Her mother pulled her into an embrace. Because you loved him. And love makes you hope. Kira wept. Everything was a lie. No, her mother said softly. Your love was real. His truth wasn't. An hour later, the wedding was over, but the wreckage remained. Guests slowly trickled out, whispering into their phones. Hashtags were already trending. Hashtag wedding bombshell. Hashtag Deo and the other woman. Kira stayed locked in her suite. Deo stood outside. Kira, he called again. Open the door. Just talk to me. A long pause. Then click. The door opened. She stood there, arms crossed over her waist, eyes red but steady. You have 5 minutes, she said coldly. Use them. Deo stepped in. I swear I didn't know about the child. I met Adiz years ago, before you. It was one night. That's all it was. She had your child, Deo? She never told me. She knew where to find you. I changed numbers. I moved. She never reached out. Until today. Kira narrowed her eyes. Why didn't you tell me about her at all? Because it was in the past, he said helplessly. Irrelevant. Kira's voice trembled. A child is not irrelevant. Deo stepped closer. I love you. This doesn't change that. Kira's tears came again. You're right. You loving me doesn't change that. But your silence does. He reached for her hand. She stepped back and closed the door in his face. Later that night, Vanessa knocked quietly on the door. She didn't expect Kira to open it. She did. What do you want? Kira's voice was hoarse. I deserve that, Vanessa said, walking in. Kira folded her arms. You lied to me. I didn't lie, Vanessa said. I just delayed the truth. That's the same thing. Vanessa sighed. I found the photo when we were doing a surprise video montage for you. I didn't know who the woman was at first. But when I asked Deo, he told me it was from long ago and begged me not to ruin things. So you chose his happiness over my truth? I didn't choose anyone, Vanessa said. I panicked. And then Adiz contacted me. She said she wanted to come to the wedding. I told her not to. I begged her. But you still gave me that letter, Kira said, lifting the torn envelope. I didn't want you to find out like this, Vanessa whispered. But a part of me knew it would come out, and you deserved to know. Kira's voice cracked. You were my best friend, V. I trusted you with everything. I know. A heavy silence stretched between them. I'm sorry, Vanessa whispered. I'm not ready to forgive you, Kira replied. I didn't come for that. I came to face you. To say it to your face. Kira nodded slowly. Then go. Vanessa walked out, wiping silent tears from her cheeks. 2 days after the wedding chaos, Kira sat on a park bench watching sunlight flicker through the trees. The world kept spinning, indifferent to her broken heart. Her cousin Rennie joined her, carrying 2 smoothies. I want to meet her, Kira said suddenly. Rennie blinked. Who? Adiz. The woman. The mother. I need to know. Rennie hesitated. Are you sure? After all that? Kira nodded slowly. She told the truth. Everyone else danced around it. They met in a quiet cafe in Ikeja. Adiz was already seated, wearing a plain blue blouse, no makeup. Her face looked calmer than Kira expected. Thank you for coming, Adiz said first. I didn't come for closure, Kira replied. I came for clarity. Adiz met her eyes. I get it. Kira glanced down. Tell me about the child. Kamsi, Adiz said, smiling. He's 4. Bright, curious. He talks to his toy lion like it's a person. Kira cracked a smile despite herself. I raised him alone. Deo and I weren't serious, but he disappeared. Changed numbers, moved cities. I found out I was pregnant too late. You never tried harder to reach him? Adiz nodded. I did. Emailed his old company. No response. I stopped chasing. Kira looked away, then back. Why now? I saw your wedding photos online, and I remembered the lies I once swallowed. I didn't want you to go through that. You could have waited. Sent a letter. I'd waited long enough, Adiz said gently. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to free you. For the first time in days, Kira felt something loosen in her chest. Not forgiveness, but understanding. Kira sat cross-legged on Rennie's floor, phone in hand, skimming headlines she never asked for. Bride walks out after wedding scandal. CEO Deo Johnson caught in paternity bombshell. Hashtag wedding from heaven to hell was trending. Her phone buzzed again, calls from journalists, former classmates, even her ex from university. Block all of them, Rennie advised, plopping down beside her. Except this one. She handed Kira a tablet. On screen, Deo's tech startup had lost 2 major investors. His PR rep had resigned. He's unraveling, Rennie said. Kira turned the screen off. I should care, she muttered. But I don't. You care. Just not the way you thought you would. Later that evening, her manager called from her workplace. We're going to give you some time off, Kira, he said carefully. Not disciplinary. Just, while things cool down. Kira swallowed hard. I understand. After the call, she stared at her reflection in the window. I built a life I no longer recognize. No, Rennie said. You built a life that wasn't built for you. Now you get to design it again. From truth this time. Kira said nothing. But her silence meant agreement. 3 days after the wedding, Kira returned to the bridal suite. It felt abandoned, ghostly. Her dress still hung in the corner, a fragile monument to a dream turned ash. She ran her fingers over the fabric, remembering the laughter, the vows, and the lie. She packed it gently into a box. And with that, her decision was made. Deo waited at the gates of Rennie's house. Kira stepped out, no makeup, no fanfare. Just truth. I came to return this, she said, holding out the ring. Deo's face broke. Please. Don't do this here. This is exactly where it needs to be done, she replied. I didn't know, he repeated for the 100th time. That's not the point anymore. Then what is? He asked, voice cracking. You knew enough to lie. To hide. To make decisions for us without me. I was scared. You were selfish, she said, stepping back. You made love a weapon. I still love you. Kira nodded. I know. But love without honesty is still betrayal. She handed him the ring. And walked back inside without looking back. When Kira's father called, she was surprised. He had spoken briefly at the wedding, but barely since. They met at a small pepper soup joint. No cameras. No expectations. I don't expect a warm welcome, he began. You left, Kira said plainly. I was 16. He nodded. I left because I couldn't face the truth. I cheated. I lied. And when your mother found out, I ran. You ran from us. I ran from myself, he said, eyes glistening. And now I watch my daughter walk through the same storm, and I realize, I never warned you. Kira looked away. I didn't need your warning. I needed your presence. I'm here now. For how long? As long as you'll let me be. They sat in silence for a while, sipping hot broth. Don't bury this, he finally said. Don't shrink yourself to forgive. And don't stay silent to make others comfortable. Kira blinked back tears. I don't know how to move forward. Then start by not going backward, he said. She nodded. And somewhere deep in her, another piece of strength returned. Kira visited Adiz again, this time in her world. A small school compound. Kamsi was inside, painting a giant sun on construction paper. Adiz stood outside, her blouse stained from snack time duty. He's beautiful, Kira said. Adiz smiled. He's the reason I get up. They walked down a dusty path beside the school. Kira asked, Do you hate him? Deo? Kira nodded. No, Adiz replied. But I don't trust him. He's already calling. Offering child support. Talking about visits. And? I'm not denying Kamsi his father. But I won't let him come and go like wind. They paused beside a jacaranda tree. I've hated you, Kira confessed. Adiz smiled. I know. But hate is a short fire. Eventually, it burns out. They sat on a bench under the tree. I thought I'd be married by now, Kira whispered. I thought I'd be planning honeymoons, not therapy. Plans change, Adiz said. But the woman in control of her life? That never goes out of style. They laughed quietly. Two women. One storm. And neither one sinking. Kira was at home when Rennie barged in with a remote. Turn on the TV. Channel 9. Now. Kira obeyed. On screen. Live, Deo Johnson press conference. Deo stood behind a podium, looking composed but tired. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward. I want to begin by apologizing, he said. To the guests at my wedding. To my investors. But most of all to Kira. My fiancée. Kira sat upright. I did not know about the child. But I should have told Kira about Adiz. About my past. My silence caused pain. He swallowed hard. I take full responsibility. I will support my son. I will not abandon him. The cameras clicked wildly. One reporter asked, What about Kira? Do you hope to win her back? Deo looked straight at the camera. She's the best person I know. If I were her, I wouldn't forgive me. But I pray, one day she finds peace whether or not it includes me. The broadcast ended. Kira blinked. That was a good speech, Rennie said. Kira stood slowly. It wasn't a speech. What then? Damage control, Kira replied, and walked out of the room. Kira sat at her kitchen table, the dim glow of evening light flickering across the room. Her laptop was open, but her eyes weren't focused on the screen. She had read every article, every comment on social media. She had listened to Deo's public apology and the news reporters' endless speculation. But none of that had made a difference. She opened a new document on her laptop. To Kamsi, you don't know me and I don't know you. But your father's choices have now connected us. and I feel it's important that you know this from me, not from the echoing voices of others. Your father is a man who, in many ways, has disappointed me. But more than that, he has betrayed you. Not in the way you think, and not in the way anyone else might ever understand. You deserve to know the truth long before this day. And I'm sorry that you have to learn about your father this way, through the chaos and the shame. But I hope when you grow up you'll understand. Your story isn't over. You're not defined by who walks away or who stays. You are defined by the love you give and the truth you keep. I promise you, when your father's silence and brokenness have faded, there will still be the truth. You are loved. Here. She exhaled deeply and clicked send. It was the first step. The first real step toward freeing herself from the constant questioning. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was closure. The restaurant was dimly lit, intimate, with a faint smell of smoked meat in the air. Kira sat at a table for two, twisting her wine glass between her fingers. She hadn't wanted to meet Deo, but she had to. She couldn't keep living in the shadow of everything that had happened. She had to know if she could move forward with peace, or if she was still tethered to the past. Deo arrived 10 minutes late, looking exhausted, his hands trembling ever so slightly as he greeted her. Kira, thank you for coming. She nodded, but there was a coldness between them now. A distance that hadn't been there before. Let's get this over with, she said. No more apologies, no more promises. Just the truth. Deo swallowed, his eyes not meeting hers at first. I'll always love you. I just didn't know what to do. Adiz, the child, everything happened so fast. I don't care about your timeline anymore, Deo. I care about how much you lied. About how much you didn't care enough to protect me from the truth. He sighed, and then in a moment of raw vulnerability he said, You're right. I hurt you. I made excuses because I didn't want to face it. But I love you. I'm sorry for what I put you through. Kira looked him squarely in the eyes. Love doesn't break someone like this, Deo. It doesn't make them question their own worth, their own sense of reality. He reached across the table, but she pulled her hand away. I have to let you go. I have to learn to move on from the lies we built. Deo sat back, his face crumbling. Can't we try again? I can make it right. Kira shook her head, standing up. You've already made your choice. And I have to make mine. She turned and walked out, leaving behind a man broken by his own decisions. The dinner was over. But for her, it was the beginning of a new chapter. Kira returned to the wedding venue alone. It felt strange to walk through the grand hall again, the place where so many promises had been made and broken. She wandered down the aisle, her heels clicking softly on the polished floor, the space now echoing with the ghosts of her past. She approached the altar. It was empty now. Her wedding day had been a blur of joy and dread, excitement and fear, love and betrayal. But standing there alone, the finality of it all hit her in a way it never had before. She had always thought of this altar as a place where vows were made between two people. But today Kira made a vow to herself. She stood at the altar, took a deep breath, and spoke the words she needed to hear. I vow to never again place my worth in someone else's hands. I vow to protect my heart, to not let fear or lies steal my future. I promise to hold my truth no matter how hard it gets. I will not shrink, I will not falter, and I will not become small for the comfort of others. She held up her chin, her shoulders square. I promise to love myself first, to be my own safe place, to be my own promise. Kira stood there for a while, letting the silence settle around her. She didn't need anyone else's validation anymore. And for the first time in days she felt free. 3 months later, Kira stood before a modest crowd at a community center in Surulere. She wore a simple navy jumpsuit, her hair in curls, face radiant, not with makeup, but with a piece she hadn't worn in a long time. Behind her, a banner hung across the wall. Truth Circle, for women who stayed too silent too long. It wasn't flashy. There were no photographers, no curated Instagram posts. Just women. Women like her. I want to start today's session with a question, Kira said, glancing around. How many of you were ever told you were too emotional for asking questions? Nearly every hand went up. She nodded. That was me too. I thought love meant ignoring the voice inside me that screamed, this isn't right. I silenced myself because someone told me the truth would ruin everything. She smiled faintly. Turns out, the truth saved me. Applause followed. It wasn't loud, but it was real. Kira's Truth Circle was a free support space she'd launched 2 months earlier, an idea that had come from a simple conversation with Adiz. Over tea they realized how many women had buried pain just to be seen as good wives, patient partners, or forgiving women. And now, Kira helped those women rewrite that story. After the session ended, Adiz approached her with Kamsi tugging at her hand. He let go and ran to Kira. Auntie Kira. She knelt and opened her arms. He hugged her tightly. Mama said you know all the stories in the world. Kira laughed. I know a few. Will you tell me one? She looked into his bright, hopeful eyes. Next time. I promise. As he ran off to play, Adiz watched him, then turned to Kira. You're glowing. You are too, Kira replied. Adiz smiled. Life's quiet again. No calls from Deo in weeks. He finally agreed to structured visitation. No drama. Just order. I'm glad, Kira said. They sat on the bench outside the center. The sun was warm, casting a soft gold hue across the pavement. I read that letter you sent him, Adiz said. The one to Kamsi. Kira nodded. It wasn't for Deo. It was for me. Adiz looked over. So, do you think you'll love again? Kira hesitated, then said honestly, I think I'm already learning how. Differently this time. Starting with myself. 2 weeks later, Kira sat in a coffee shop downtown, sketching ideas for her next workshop. The bell above the door chimed, and a man in a charcoal gray suit walked in. He had a calm, unhurried confidence. He ordered tea, then turned and caught her staring. He smiled. Is this seat taken? She paused. No. He Saturday, you're Kira, right? From the Truth Circle. Her brows raised slightly. Yes. My sister attends your sessions. She talks about you like you're a superhero. Kira chuckled. I'm definitely not. You're something close, he said. I'm Olu. They shook hands. He didn't stare too long. Didn't talk too fast. He didn't ask invasive questions. He just sat with her, talking about literature and life and grief and healing. Not as a savior. Just as a human. As she sipped her coffee, something inside her shifted. It wasn't the rush of butterflies. Not the dizzy rush of infatuation. It was calm. It was curiosity. It was safety. That night, Kira wrote in her journal for the first time in weeks. Things I know now. 1. Truth is uncomfortable, but silence is deadly. 2. I don't need a perfect ending, I just need a real one. 3. I can survive betrayal and still believe in love. 4. I am enough. 5. Some fairy tales begin after the castle crumbles. She closed the journal and smiled. Maybe the chapter with Deo was over. But her story? It was just getting started. The auditorium buzzed with quiet anticipation. Rows of women, young and old, filled the plush seats. Some dressed in suits, others in native wrappers and headscarves. It wasn't a fashion show. It wasn't a concert. It was the Women Forward Summit, an annual event focused on empowering women with real-life stories of strength. Kira stood backstage waiting to be called. Next up, the MC announced, we have a woman whose name made headlines, but not for the reasons you'd expect. Her story began in heartbreak but rose into something so much bigger. Please welcome, Kira Aladil. The audience erupted in applause as she stepped into the light. She walked confidently across the stage, not like a survivor but like a woman who had rewritten the ending herself. Dressed in a bold mustard pantsuit, no ring on her finger, no shadow behind her, Kira approached the microphone. Thank you, she began, her voice steady. 3 months ago I stood at an altar. It was decorated in flowers. There were fairy lights, soft music, and 2 beautiful families. Everything looked like a fairy tale. She paused. But sometimes fairy tales lie. The room quieted. I stood at that altar with a man I thought I knew. I said vows with shaking hands and a hopeful heart. But before the evening ended, a stranger stood up and told me the truth that would shatter it all. Murmurs spread through the audience, some nodding, some visibly moved. She told me he had a child he never mentioned. That I was about to commit my life to a man who kept his past locked in a closet, until it burst out in front of 300 guests and the entire internet. Kira smiled softly. And yes, I walked away. More applause. This time slower. Respectful. I walked away from the altar. I walked away from shame. I walked away from silence. And most importantly, I walked away from the belief that I had to stay just to be enough. She let the words breathe. Here's what no one tells you. Walking away doesn't mean failure. Sometimes it's the first real act of love. For yourself. In the crowd, Rennie clapped proudly. Adiz sat next to her, nodding. Even Kamsi, restless in his seat, seemed to sense something important was happening. Kira continued. In the weeks that followed, I was humiliated publicly. I lost business deals, was placed on leave at work, and my engagement ended in the most viral way imaginable. But you know what hurt the most? She looked across the sea of women, realizing I had betrayed myself by staying quiet for so long. Gasp. A few women wiped their eyes. I had stopped listening to the voice inside me. The one that asked questions. The one that knew something was off. Because I was scared to lose him. Because I thought love meant endurance. Her tone changed, stronger now. But I've learned something. Love doesn't hurt you into silence. It doesn't ask you to bleed quietly. Real love includes truth. And if it doesn't, then it's not love. Applause rose again. In the months that followed, I did more than cry. I created something. With the help of women like my cousin, and even the woman who told me the truth at my wedding, I built the Truth Circle. A safe space for women to tell their stories without shame. She glanced to the left of the stage, where Olu now stood, smiling. The calm man she'd met in a coffee shop. No pressure, no expectations. Just steady kindness. And today, Kira added, I am not ashamed of what happened at that altar. Because I didn't lose that day. I found myself. A standing ovation began from the back and rippled forward. She placed a hand on her chest. I am not the bride who walked away. I am the woman who chose herself. Cheers echoed through the auditorium. Kira stepped back, eyes glistening. And as she walked off the stage, down the stairs and into the warm embrace of her future, not defined by Deo, not shadowed by scandal, but lit by her own light, Kira knew this for sure. The fairy tale wasn't dead. She had just started writing it herself. One truthful chapter at a time. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.